Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Shawn Wilson Show, and this is episode 1 of Shawn Talks. Now, this week we're going to be talking about Wrestlemania because it is Wrestlemania season, Wrestlemania 43. We're going to Las Vegas this time, headlined by CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. Now, me personally, I feel like this is one of the better builds to WrestleMania that we've had in the last 3 years since WrestleMania 40, and it's showing because whenever you go around and you scroll on social media, you see nothing but people talking about how good WrestleMania 40 was and not really much about 41 or 42. But we are getting some good stuff here with WrestleMania 43, so let's get right into it. Now, for me, the main thing I want to talk about is the fact that we finally got a Randy Orton's heel turn. I've been waiting on this for the longest time. I've been calling for it for the longest time. I feel like the fans have been calling for it for the longest time. Either Cody or Randy needed to turn, and Randy has turned first, even though it's not working the way that they thought it would in terms of Randy getting booed. We saw this past Friday on SmackDown, Randy got some kind of boos. He got a little bit in there when he decided to RKO Jelly Roll. Honestly, I wanted to see a punt kick because I'm kind of tired of seeing Jelly Roll on my screen, but it is what it is. We got an RKO on Jelly Roll. We got some kind of boos for Randy. Not many because we've all been waiting for Randy to turn heel, and we're all kind of tired of Cody because we all thought we were going to get Randy versus Drew at Mania, and from what we've heard in backstage terms, Drew also thought it was going to be him versus Randy at WrestleMania, but Cody and his politicking backstage may have played a part in Cody getting the title back when he did, but that's neither here or there. I'm not backstage. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going off of what I've heard online and rumors from backstage sources. So that being said, we have Cody versus Randy. Apparently, there was also a plan for it to be a fatal 5-way match or fatal 4-way, something like that, where it was Drew defending against Cody, Randy, Sami Zayn, and I believe Jacob Fatu. So yeah, that would have been a fatal 5-way match, which I believe would have seen Randy leave as as WWE champion regardless. But either way, Randy walking into this match, I'm pretty sure he's guaranteed to get his 15th WWE championship in that match. I don't see any reason as to why we're letting Cody win the championship and keep it. I didn't see a point of him losing the belt to Drew just to win it back. I didn't see the point of him feuding with Drew so long if Drew wasn't going to win the belt. In general, I believe I've vented about this a couple of times because they've been feuding for a very, very long time, and it got very stale to the point where they had to either give Drew the belt or just drop the feud entirely, and I'm glad they did finally give Drew the belt, but there wasn't really a payoff to it because we're not getting Drew challenging for a belt at WrestleMania. We're instead getting Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu, which I'm sure is still going to be a good match. It's an unsanctioned match, meaning that they're going to go balls to the wall. It's going to be mad extreme, mad gruesome. They're going to be beating the hell out of each other. I'm down for it. I don't have an issue with it. I just wish I could have seen Drew versus Randy one more time because they do have great chemistry in the ring together. And I do personally believe that when they're in the ring together, it's some of the best quality matches that either of them can have, especially in recent times. If you go back to the pandemic era, when Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre had their feud for the WWE Championship, probably one of the better feuds of that era. The same way that Roman was carrying SmackDown with the Bloodline saga and all that, Drew was carrying Raw with his feuds with Randy Orton and so on. Honestly, Randy Orton's the only feud I can remember during that pandemic run for Drew McIntyre, so that just goes to show you how much it popped out compared to everything else. But yeah, Randy Orton is now a heel, quote unquote. Cody Rhodes, I still feel like Cody Rhodes needs to turn heel as well, but we've been alluding that Randy has been talking to somebody on the phone the past couple of weeks. A lot of people have been speculating that it might have been either Ric Flair or Ted DiBiase Jr. Both options, I don't feel like they are either. I feel like that they're playing at the storyline that Randy is finally listening to the voices in his head, and that's who he's on the phone with. Because they've been saying a lot of Randy, cutting in his promo saying, I listen to the voices now. The voices are telling me. The voice is this. The voice is that. So there's a good chance that, they're playing the storyline that Randy's genuinely going insane and he's just talking to himself and talking to the voices and he thinks he's on the phone with them when in reality he's just talking to himself. But if that's the case, it plays into the character that he has right now where he's listening to the voices. But I feel like that'd be a waste of repeated phone calls unless they're going to go down a really, really deep rabbit hole of Randy, slowly going psychotic and losing his marbles. But, yeah, I don't have an issue with this match. I kind of wish it was under different circumstances. If they were going to have Cody versus Randy, they should have just been building that from the beginning instead of having all these Cody and Drew matches. For for people that are saying that Randy coming into this and having a World Championship match Mania against Cody is out of nowhere, I don't understand where that criticism is coming from, because Randy has been alluding to the fact that he'll be challenging Cody for that World Championship for the last 2 years, ever since he beat Roman for it. And then when he lost it, he told him that he still have his back. And then when he won it back against John Cena, he, again, was there saying, hey, I'm going to take this and I'm going to challenge you for that belt if the time comes. And when that time comes, he'll be there. Which, as of lately, Randy has been there, and Randy has been able to not hold back and, pull the trigger, which has been something that Cody was saying that Randy had lacked. He was lacking that killer instinct, and everybody was saying that Randy wasn't using his full potential and doing what he needed to do to get the job done, which in a way was true because he saw Cody as his friend. But now that Cody has given him his blessing to, use his full potential and not hold back and use that killer instinct, this is now where we are, where it's almost guaranteed that Randy Orton walks out of WrestleMania WWE champion. If he does not, I will personally be upset about it, because I'd much rather see a Randy Orton heel champion run than a Cody Rhodes face championship run. If Cody Rhodes was a heel right now, I wouldn't have an issue with it. If Drew McIntyre wasn't going to film Highlander right after WrestleMania, I wouldn't have an issue with him being WWE champion either. But we're getting Randy. I'm excited for Randy. Hopefully, they're pulling the trigger on Randy to get his 15. So, yeah. Another main match that I want to talk about is the match between Roman Reigns and CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. This is on the Raw side of things. So, Monday Night Raw, CM Punk is the World Heavyweight Champion right now. He has been ever since he beat... who did he beat? He beat Jey Uso. I really don't remember who he beat. I want to believe that he beat Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship after it was vacated by Seth Rollins after he had his shoulder injury. So, yeah, he beat Gunther, and then Seth cashed in on him, and then they had the whole tournament after Seth got hurt, and yeah, that's right. Okay, now, Roman won the Royal Rumble. To be honest, looking at that Royal Rumble lineup, there wasn't anybody else they were going to pull the trigger on. I didn't have an issue with it. I was kind of upset that it didn't have any major names pull up that could have won it. My fault. Any major names that I wouldn't have had an issue with winning, because I was glad at the fact that they didn't have as many, jobbers or tag team wrestlers in there. They did have tag team wrestlers, but they didn't have nearly as many, just wasted entrants that they usually do. And I know a lot of people were upset that we didn't get anywhere near as many comebacks as we usually do in a Rumble. But to be honest, I felt like the spots being used for the actual talent were pretty well used, and they were where they needed to be for everybody to, get their kind of moment and all that, and for people to, be introduced to these kind of talents and all that good stuff. I feel like everybody that was in the match had a somewhat decent showing. Me personally, when Royce Keys, otherwise known as Powerhouse Hobbs, when he was in AEW and on the independent scene, he made his debut in that match. We have not seen him since. I do feel like even though he's on main event and working dark matches, we're still kind of not utilizing him the way that he should be utilized. I don't feel like he's anywhere near as green as they think he is. I feel like he's a great in-ring worker. I feel like he can cut a good promo if given the opportunity and the right material, which, again, I feel like can be said for anybody. But I feel like he's a good promo on his own, because from what I remember, AEW, in terms of their promos, they're not anywhere near as scripted, but you still have to know how to cut a promo to even, get over with the fans. And I feel like Hobbs, or Royce Keys, whatever you want to call him, had that ability. So I feel like we're kind of, wasting him as a talent, but I guess they just don't have anything planned for him at the moment, which in turns makes me feel that way, but it is what it is. When they do bring him, I hope they put him either immediately in the main title picture to go against maybe an Obafemi or something like that, or they put him down in the US or IC title division, depending on what brand he's going to be on, and he can just be a dominant mid-card champion until they're ready to bring him up to the main roster. Kind of similar to what they did with, what is his name? Obafemi in the NXT Championship. And they had him be a dominant mid-card champion with the North American Championship, longest reigning champion of all time until Ethan Page happened. And they immediately put him in the NXT Championship picture, where he ran that and dominated it for so long that he had to vacate the title because nobody could beat him anymore. So hopefully we have that. with Royce Keys. But back to Roman Reigns and CM Punk, I felt like I just rambled for a hot minute about a whole bunch of nothing. I apologize, but I tend to do that a lot when I talk about wrestling. But yeah, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, they've been having a lot of verbal altercations recently where they're just kind of spitting jabs at each other. The most deep cut one was when Punk said he was going to bury Roman next to his father. For those of you that don't know, his father was, I believe, Sika of the Wild Samoans, and Alpha was his uncle. I might have that swapped, but I believe Sika is his father. But yeah, that one kind of split a nerve between Roman as well as the Usos, to the point where we're quote unquote getting Crash Out Jay back within recent weeks, where he's kind of not really taking any BS from anybody, and he's kind of just, ready to fight and ready to knock somebody out. Or in the words of Jey Uso himself, he's ready to go get somebody. And we just have Jimmy Uso in the background, all calm and stoic and all that, but he still is ready to knock somebody out if he has to. As we've seen from the times that, Punk has put hands on Jay and then Jimmy has immediately had to put somebody down. Or even with LA Knight said something about Jay being like a mini Roman again, and as Jay walked off, Jimmy said, "Hey, you need to watch how you talk about our family, yada, yada, yada." But yeah, I don't feel like we're going to get a full Bloodline reunion as everybody's saying, but I do feel like they're hinting at the fact that Jay is going to end up being another form of the Tribal Chief or something along that line, because if you saw the most recent episode of Raw where Roman finally snapped and actually went off on Punk in a physical way, he speared him, put him through a table, all that good stuff. It looked like we were getting Golden Glove Roman Reigns back in a sense. And for those of you that don't know what Golden Glove Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns during the pandemic and during that run where he went from Mania 35 to 37, just dog walking people, I believe. But going like specifically 36-ish, I believe that's the one where he pinned Edge and Daniel Bryan, and he stacked them. And that was kind of the start of, Roman actually being that guy. But yeah, if you watch that altercation when it happened, Roman was getting ready to leave the ring. Jay called the shot for Roman to get Punk, and Roman listened, and Roman dropped Punk. He speared him again, put him through the table, started talking all kinds of trash to him. But yeah, Jay was basically barking orders in a similar way to how, Roman would have called out orders back when the Bloodline was still together and they were just calling hits out on people. But personally, I don't have an issue with how the storyline's going. I feel like this is one of the better builds to WrestleMania. I do feel like the Cody and Randy one is also a good build because of how long it's been brewing. But I do feel like Roman and Punk have more of a story-based thing because of their ability to cut promos and the way they can sell what they're saying without having to get physical or anything like that. I do appreciate the fact that we had blood in between the Randy and Cody feud. And I feel like that can stay like that. They can stay a blood feud. They can stay as gory as they have it right now. And it'll be as entertaining as it has been. I just feel like Roman and Punk have the more cerebral and mental thing. And I feel like that's the entire point of it. I feel like that one is meant to be more who can get into the other one's head more before WrestleMania, before the other one snaps. And this week, it was Roman who snapped. So, yeah, me personally, I feel like Roman's walking out of Mania World Heavyweight Champion. I do feel like we're getting basically every major title change, whether it's in the male side or the female side. I feel like Sami Zayn isn't walking out of WrestleMania with the U.S. Championship. I feel like they only did that so Sami could lose the trick because they didn't want Melo to lose the trick. But to be completely honest, there's a good chance that Melo cost Trick that championship because Trick did cost Melo the U.S. Championship, whether it was intentional or not. But yeah, Roman's walking out as World Heavyweight Champion. I don't think we have any need for CM Punk as World Champion right now. I feel like Punk would have been better walking into this as a full-on heel World Champion because I feel like his promos are just a lot better, and he's a lot better as a worker when he's a heel. It just fits more to his style and his in-ring style now, especially because he works a lot slower than he did in his youth. So, yeah. Yeah. Again, I ramble a lot and I kind of lose where I was going. But I feel like I got what I was trying to say across in terms of the story is good and their build is good. But yeah, let's rotate into another match that I kind of want to talk about. That isn't officially announced as a match, but I feel like in the coming weeks they're going to try to bring it up as like a last minute match to Mania. All right, the match that I want to talk about that I feel like is going to be a match at Mania that they just haven't announced yet is Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. Now, from what I have been seeing online, Seth Rollins is going to be cleared by Mania, and Braun Breaker is going to be cleared by Mania as well. So I feel like they're going to have a point where Seth tries to attack Paul Heyman again, and instead of Brock Lesnar coming out, we get Braun Breaker coming out. And Braun Breaker might not be able to do anything in a physical sense yet, but I feel like that's going to be the starting of that feud between them one-on-one, to where we finally get, the protege and the mentor again in terms of Seth versus Braun, similar to when Seth had his Messiah gimmick and he had his little group where he had AOP and Buddy Matthews with him, also known as Buddy Murphy when he was in WWE. But similar to that when Buddy went solo, and this time instead of it being the group disbanding, it was just Seth kicked him out. Seth got kicked out in terms of the division. But I feel that we're going to get Seth versus Braun. I do not feel like Seth walks out of Mania with this win. Even though it would make sense for him to walk out with this win, I don't think it does. I feel like Braun winning this would put him back in that field of, okay, cool, this guy is a top star. He is the top guy. He is the, face of the division. He's the guy that they're trying to push forward, which in a way, it kind of stopped feeling like that after they kind of like strapped this rocket to him to go into the Rumble and, just dog walk everybody and dominate. And he immediately got eliminated. And then he had his match with CM Punk, which he also lost for the World Heavyweight Championship, which I feel like they gave him too early into CM Punk's reign. Had it been a little bit later into his reign, like around this time, and we had Braun Breaker going into Mania against Punk, I do feel like Braun Breaker would have walked out of WrestleMania as the World Heavyweight Champion. And I feel like the division possibly would have tag team championships, because I feel like the plan was for all of them to collectively have a belt, to where, Bronson Reed is the IC champion, Logan and Austin are the tag team champions, and Braun is the World Heavyweight Champion, and they just have Paul Heyman as the mouthpiece. And I feel like that would have worked in terms of, the fresh crop of talent just dominating the entire roster and all that, and showing that they truly are the future of the business. But, injuries plague the division to the point where it's just Theory and Logan right now. So, yeah, they're kind of bummed out right now. They're kind of bummy. But it is what it is. But I do feel like we're going to get Seth and Braun. I'm kind of in between because I can see both sides of why Seth would win and why Braun would win. I feel like Seth would win, and they'd be like, okay, cool, this is Seth taking out each member of the division one by one, and he just starts at Braun. But I wouldn't like that if Braun's supposed to be the, big bad, the final boss of the division, to where it's like, okay, cool, you have to take out Bronson, you got to take out Logan, you got to take out Austin, and then you can get to Braun. I feel like that's what they should do if that is the goal, but I know Bronson's going to be out for a hot minute. So if it's just, okay, cool, you got to take out Logan and Austin first, and then you get to Braun, okay, cool, we can have that happen in like 2 weeks before Mania. And then by the time we're at Mania, okay, cool, we got Braun, we got Seth, thug it out. And then if Seth wins that match, okay, cool, it is what it is. But if we're just going Seth and Braun, we've been brawling, yada, 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 you're the reason I got put out, okay, cool. We're putting Braun over. But my idea, put Braun over, insert Braun back into the World Championship scene. Depending on how long Roman's championship reign is, if we're not letting Obafemi take the belt off of him, give it to Braun Breaker. And then let Braun have a long heel run as world champion. I'm not saying let him have a year-long run with the championship. Give him 6 months with it. And if for some reason halfway through that he just isn't it with the belt, take it off of him. Put it to Oba. Put it on Oba. Put it on somebody that you know the fans can get behind and the fans have some kind of connection with. And right now, Obafemi's that guy. The crowd loves Obafemi. The crowd loves what Obafemi does. They're behind Oba. He's over no matter where he goes. People do his little dance. They have his chant down packed. The guy has aura. He has that it factor. He's good on the mic. He's good in the ring. And, he's proven that he can be the dominant champion and entertain that entire reign, which he did, greatly when he was in NXT. It's especially the North American Championship run. The North American Championship run, in my opinion, might have been better than his NXT Championship run. Don't get me wrong, because he had some banger matches in his NXT Championship run between Trick and Javon. Don't get me wrong, those are like two of the main ones I remember because they had a lot of triple threat matches involving them. But Javon versus Oba one-on-one, probably one of my favorite matches for Oba's championship run in NXT. I do feel like they should have pulled the trigger on Javon, and Javon should have had an NXT championship run before they called him up. But I get it. Javon is a really good talent, and him not having the NXT championship won't hurt him in his run. So I get it. But yeah, there's a lot more matches on the card that I did not talk about, but I'll make sure to get to them in the predictions video that'll probably be out later this week. But that has nothing to do with the series Shawn Talks. This was episode 1 where we just talked about a couple things going on at WrestleMania to give you guys a little feel for what this is going to be like. Think about Shawn Talks as a short form version of the podcast when I was still doing it actively. These are just weekly episodic things of me just sitting down talking about random things. I will still have videos going out throughout the week about other things, or like I said, we'll have the predictions for Mania. It probably won't come out this week, probably closer to Mania when we have the full card. But yeah, expect another video talking about gaming or fitness, and expect a video on the Muscle Memory Fitness channel as well sometime this week. But this has been episode 1 of the Shawn Talks. I've been your host, Shawn. Peace.